Hacker Twins here, and today we're going to be doing FreeCAD in 5 minutes. FreeCAD is a computer-aided design software that's open source and Python based. We're going to go ahead and go to their website, and you could download it based off of your operating system. Once we've opened it up, it looks a little bit like this. We're going to create a new file, although in the left here, in your combo view, you can open up files. Your files are here. We're even going to open up a new one because we're starting from scratch today. FreeCAD is really just a series of workbenches meant for specific operations. Every workbench has its own list of specific features that are all associated with little graphics. This yellow one is create part. Parts are kind of, if you think about it, like a folder. If you click on an item in your combo view and press spacebar, you can make it visible or invisible. Another workbench is called part. You can get access to cubes and cylinders, and you can add and subtract 3D objects from each other. We're going to go into draft first. FreeCAD is really about knowing what grid and axis you're on, the X, Y, and Z axis. We're going to go ahead and move this cylinder using these snap-on tools. You want to click the face you actually want to move to. This bullseye one moves it to the center. We can go ahead and disappear that guy. And if we go back to parts, we could do fun things like select an object, hit Control, select another object, and hit subtract. And now there's a hole through this square. So I don't recommend getting too lost in the create parts from a bunch of shapes and subtract and add them together. It's a newbie mistake. Really what we want to do is we want to draw items and then add padding and cut and carve and shape things. And I'm going to show you how to do that in part design. When you're inventing or building 3D objects, you want to be in part design. And before we run through what a sketch is, I just want to go over to the FreeCAD documentation website. It has all the workbenches here, and getting familiar with the logos of all the features and tools are really important. And I always am looking things up and learning new things. So follow along in the documentation for sure. You can create an empty body, or if you click this red circle and square, it creates a sketch that also has a body. You have to choose a plane. These red circles and lines at the top are crucial for sketching. Sketching is making a 2D image with lines and using padding in the future to turn it into a 3D image. This little crosshairs circle is a constraint that connects lines together. You can see the horizontal bar when I'm moving the line out, and this vertical bar constrains them to be vertical and horizontal. Hitting the escape key is crucial when working in a sketch because it deactivates the tool that you've selected. You can move lines around, but notice that I've constrained this bottom line on the z-axis. This is really important because in the future you want to have reference points to be able to cut holes precisely into things. Now I can draw a new line here, but notice that I've missed it and they're not actually connected. I can easily connect these by using this constraint here. And notice that there's no vertical horizontal constraint on this line, so I can spin it around. I want this to be horizontal. I don't want to line it up with my eyes. I just want to click the horizontal tool. We could go back to our line and we can make a rail. But it's not very even and there's some parts that are messed up. Obviously we want some parts to be the same, so you can highlight 2 and click this equal sign and they're going to be equal. You can click this vertical constraint for length and you can make things specific length. And because they're equal, they'll always be the same length. This distance tool is really cool because it's got multiple uses. You can just click a line and make a line a certain length based off of the distance, or you could click a point and another line and have 2 different lines be a certain distance apart from each other. If you try and add a constraint that breaks the logic of other constraints, you're going to see this orange, and it's not going to let you do it. And it's going to show you the error. What's cool here in our combo view to the left, you can actually see all your constraints, and you can see all your lines. If you had to click on one and delete it, or if you got an error, you could just go in here and very easily delete constraints. Selecting a sketch and clicking this yellow tool creates padding. It makes it 10 millimeters wide. So you're turning a 2D image into a 3D image. We can turn this into a nice long rail, and this is great, but our sketch is flawed, and we can go back and fix it. Or if you were truly unhappy with it, you could just click the pad and delete it, and your sketch still remains. But we're not going to do that. I want to go into this pad, and I want to fix my sketch. Make them equal. Notice how I'm getting an error because constraint 34. It's easy to lose track of all the constraints you have. So like I said earlier, you can just very easily delete things as you go. Always just move your lines around to remember the type of logic that you have going on. And you can always move these numbers out of the way. I think I want this to be maybe 4 millimeters wide. All the lines being green is a good thing. It means the sketch is fully constrained and I can't move it. It means it's resilient and ready to be modified. Notice that our 150 millimeter padding is still there. I'm not going to use the whole tool. I'm actually going to use this pocket. So I'm going to click the surface I want to sketch on because I'm going to carve a pocket into it. And it was so important that I was on the origin earlier because I'm going to use this origin to make sure my holes are even. This circle tool is how I'm going to pocket or carve holes. I think 3 should be enough. So I hit escape. So I deactivate that tool. And I'm going to make them all equal to each other. And this is a radius tool. So I only need to change one because they're all equal to each other. This distance tool gets a lot of work done. It's kind of hard. I can't really click on it. So I'm going to click the center of the circle. And I'm going to click on, I believe this is the y-axis. So I don't really remember what length we had earlier. I think it was maybe 40 millimeters wide. Oh, that can't be right. But that's okay. We can go back to our model, click on this sketch, and check out the horizontal distance. And it was 51. So half of that is 25.5. And then we can make this distance here. Notice that I clicked the lines first before clicking the distance tool. Maybe 10 millimeters. There we go. I can close this. And all I have to do while having this selected is click the pocket tool and choose what length. We know this is nice and thin, so 5 millimeters is good enough. And you can see that the holes are through. If you want to do actual pockets, you could just double click this and maybe only make it 1 or 2 millimeters thick. And notice that it doesn't go through all the way, and it just has these little grooves in it. I need holes though. But this is it. We built a rail.